Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we're going to be playing with some of the new Spellbinders kits of the month. We've got our Glimmer Kit of the month. It's a beautiful one. We're looking at Christmas. I love it. We also have our Embossing folder of the month. I'm going to use that on all of our projects today. This one is stunning. We also have, that's the foil that comes along with the Glimmer Kit. And then we also have the small die of the month. And then there is an add-on that you can get that goes along with the small die of the month, and it's a little stamp set. So let's jump into playing with our small die of the month. I'm going to put those in how I would normally, if I wanted to use colored cardstock, how I would probably assemble those together. I'm putting all those that I would do with white cardstock up there just to show you how I die cut them out. And then I've got all the ones that would be black cardstock, and then I also have all the ones that would just be red cardstock. Normally I like to just color all of mine, but today I thought I'd do something different and die cut using colored cardstock. So there's our white ones, there's our red ones, and there are our black ones. I am going to do a little coloring on those white ones because not all of those are supposed to be totally white. But I love this die because there's a lot of embossing that's going on there as well, and so that makes it really easy to show where you would want to add your lowlights. All right, so I'm just going to color up the face here. I did the little cheeks and the nose a different color. I'm going to bring in that color once again and spread that out a little bit. But I'm doing this onto some Express It cardstock, and I'm using my Olo markers, which are alcohol markers. And this is where I'm talking about where I'm adding my low lights to the areas that were embossed. You may not be able to see that too well on the screen, but there is embossing lines, and it makes it so easy. That's what I did with the red. I used those embossing lines that are on there, and I used a dark red, and then I'm going to blend that out a little bit with a lighter red. It does dry back a little bit whenever you're coloring onto some colored cardstock. Well, even the white cardstock, it does kind of dry back a little bit, so it's not quite as dark as when you first put it down. But love that there was that embossing line because it just made it so easy, like effortless really, to think about where your shadowing is going to go. All right, and then once I'm done with that, we can actually start doing a little bit of assembly. So I did use some mint tape on the back here. I probably should have done our buttons in like a gold, and my plan actually was to just put the little red dots back in there and then color those gold with a gel pen, but I completely forgot to do it. And now we're gonna put our little face together. This little Santa is absolutely adorable. For his eyes, we're once again going to add a little bit of mint tape back there. I do use glue in those little holes just to make sure that it's going to stay so that our little eyes don't pop out of there. But I'm putting our cheeks on. And then I'm going to put his little eyebrows on. And everything is actually really pretty self-explanatory. There's those embossing edges that also help to know exactly where all those pieces are going to go. So I'll put his little beard over the top. His cheeks are just peeking out. I'll pull in the eyes and put those in there. And I'm using my pickup stick to do a lot of this. We'll put his little mustache down. He's so cute. And then we'll put his little nose down. And then we're going to start putting his hat on. I wanted to make sure that his little face was all taken care of. And then we've got the trim for his hat and also the little pom-pom for his hat. And then for his body, I'm going to do his arms first. So those are pretty simple to put together also. He's got his black mittens or whatever color you want to make them. And there are extra pieces for the one hand because he can hold the little banner. And that banner, I chose to say, ho, ho, ho. And you'll see, I put the whole thing together, but I end up, well, you'll see what I'm talking about as we get going. I feel like this little Santa would work really well on a 5x7, but I'm putting him on an A2. So there you got it. It looks like his little hand is folded over the banner piece, or the pole for the banner. Then we'll put his boots on, and we'll put the trim on for the boots. And then we can attach down his arms. Once again, super easy to know where that all goes. And then you can add his arm as tight or as, out as much as you want. And then we can attach his head down on top of that. And then our final piece for the Santa would be the trim to his coat. And then we can attach the banner piece to the top of the pole. And that's how simple he is to put together. Just love it. All right, so now we're going to assemble our card. But check him out. Is he not adorable? Oh my goodness. So I've got a piece of blue cardstock, and I also have a piece of white cardstock. That blue cardstock measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm going to trim a little snow slope. And then I'm going to bring in this die that I have from Spellbinders. This is our notched centers, or corner, sorry, notched corner. And I'm going to cut the blue out, then I'll cut the white out. And then I am going to add some shading to the edge of our blue cardstock using some Midnight Snack by Simon Hurley Create. This is one of my my favorite ways to make a snowy scene background. So we're going to just blend that all just on the corners. Then we're going to attach down our snow. And here's where I decided I thought it would be super fun to bring in that embossing folder. So follow the directions on your die cutting machine and you shouldn't have any problems, but check that out. Isn't that embossing just absolutely stunning? Oh, I love it, but I'm not going to stop there. So I'm going to add a little bit of Picket Fence Distress Paint. We're going to add it to this little paintbrush holder. Spritz a little water on there, and then we're going to splatter some snow all over the background. I love it so much. And then we got to let that dry. So I'm going to heat set it. And once that's all completely dry, then we can start doing some assembly of everything else. So we'll attach it down to a card base with some liquid glue. And then I've decided I'm going to use foam squares on the back of our Santa. And I didn't really check, like I said, to see how he was going to fit on this A2 size card. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But we'll let that dry, put some foam squares all over the back of Santa and the banner. And then I'll peel off all of that release paper. And then as I'm trying to put him on the front of the card, I realize the banner's going to stick off way too much. So I didn't, like I said, didn't really plan that out super great. But we're going to just work with what we have, right? So I'm going to trim off the pole. So I've decided we'll trim off around his hand, so top and bottom. And then I'm going to trim it off as well around the banner. So it just looks like he's briskly walking through the snow. And then we'll have ho, ho, ho just above him. So that works just fine too. And then that's going to finish off the card that I'm making, showing that small die of the month. He's so cute. Now for our next project, we're bringing the embossing folder of the month along with the add-on of the month. And as you can see, I already have Santa ready to go. So we're going to take out our add-on. We're going to put no peeking because I want to make a tag. And then we have our notched corner die. I did that out of some craft cardstock and I cut it out twice. And we're going to use our embossing folder just on that smaller one that I've die cut. That'll add a good amount of dimension to our little tag. And then I'm going to glue this down. So I decide to go ahead and glue it down, and then I'm realizing, wait a second, I don't want to cut a hole in this. So I do need some string. So I'm going to grab in some baker's twine, and I'll just trim that down and then tuck that into that upper corner and add a bunch more glue just to make sure that that's going to stay. And it does a good job. So it's in there. Now we have this very easy tag that I made, and then we can attach Santa down to the front of that. But I'm going to add our banner to him. We are going to keep this on the pole, and then I'll glue it to the back of his hat too. So he's kind of holding it on his shoulder. And then we can just make sure that I know where that glue needs to go and don't want to go too far. And then I'll glue those parts that are going to be attached to the tag down using our liquid glue. Want to make sure that that's nice and down there. And then once that's done, that's going to finish off our tag, showing off that add-on and our embossing folder. Love, love. All right, now on to the Glimmer Kit of the month. This one has 5 plates that you can foil, and then it has 2 dies for the ribbon and then also for the little like medallion. And the foil that came in mine was this matte gold, which is super pretty. I have a lot of different golds, and I think this one, oof, this is different, so I really like it. So I'm using my quick trimmer. I'm going to trim down all the foil that I need. I already have some of my cardstock cut, so we're going to attach down our, take our cardstock, put the foil pretty side up, attach our foil plate down on top of that, and then my Glimmer hot foil system is all ready to go. So I've stuck that down on top of my plate. Then we run it through our Platinum 6. Here I'm getting everything else ready. I wasn't sure exactly which one of these I wanted to use, so I'm going to attach them all down. Clearly I'm not paying attention here. Yeah, you got to put the foil down first, then attach it. But this is how I like to do it. I like to use the mint tape. It works just fine. And then, as you can see, my system is all ready to go. I'll hit the timer, and then we can run that through our die cutting machine as well. And then we're going to bring about all of the dies that go along with the ribbon and our little medallions, and then we'll set those off to the side, and we're going to move on to coloring. But for my coloring, I am going to use some alcohol markers. So I'm using my Olos, and I've sped this up 4 times because this is really simple coloring. I've started with just this blue-green color, and I'm going to go around all of the edges of what I plan to color because I just think that kind of sets it off. This is a really light blue-green. It's that blue-green 2.1, and I love how that kind of shadows. I think that's great. And then it matches the colors of cardstock that I've chosen, just in different variations of that color. So going around all of those. And then we're going to move on to coloring our leaves. And it's still that same blue-green, but we're going to just choose darker colors from there. So that next blue-green, and then the darker one on top of that, and then blend that out. I have noticed that it dulls a little bit. The more you color over the top of the foiling, it can dull it down a little bit, but not enough to really notice. So this is just a fun way to color those up. And then that last blue-green over these little pieces. And then we're going to move on to some pink that'll match that bow that we've chosen. So I've got a light pink. These are some red violets. Color in all of our berries that way. Bring in a darker red violet for some shadowing, and then we'll blend that out with that lighter one again. And then for our poinsettia, we're going to grab that darker color that we just used. And we'll color all of our petals that way, and then we'll bring in an even darker to add our shadowing. I think it's fun when you're coloring Christmas cards to sometimes go outside of the norm of like red and green. So here we've chosen a blue-green and a red-violet. So I think that works out. Once again, I'm going to bring in that embossing folder because honestly, I'm obsessed. And just a strip. And then I'm going to bring in some of this hot pink and just rub that over the top. That's always one of my favorite techniques to do over an embossing folder. It just really accentuates what you've just embossed. And then I have a card base. So this is an A2 size card base. I went ahead and glued down my panel to that. And then I'm going to just glue this little bit that I embossed onto the edge there. And then once that's on there, I'm going to trim off any of that excess. And then now I can attach down our ribbon. I love how that die cuts out. And then I've decided to use the Warm Wishes. I think that's fun. And we'll stick that right over the top using some liquid glue. But once that's done, that's going to finish off our Glimmer Kit of the month. I love that one. Oh, it's so pretty. And I love that Christmas was the theme for this month. So let's take a look at all of the cards that I made for you, or all the projects I made, because one is a tag. And I'm going to have a link down below to all of the kits that I used, along with just the page, so that if you want to go check out any of the other kits. I'm so happy with how these turned out, and I hope you like them too. If you do, please hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.